The Deep Space Monitoring Station floated silently in the darkness. Inside, technicians watched their screens day and night. They looked for anything unusual in the vast emptiness of space. Jack Davis stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant. He was the commander of this massive battleship. The ship was one of Earth's finest warships, built to protect human colonies spread across the galaxy. Amy Brooks sat at her station, watching the sensor readings. She was a lieutenant with sharp eyes and quick thinking. Suddenly, her screen lit up with red warning signals. "Commander Davis, we have multiple contacts entering our system," she said. Her voice was calm but serious. Jack moved to look at her screen. "How many ships?" "At least 200, sir. They're moving in formation. These aren't merchant vessels." The main screen came to life. It showed hundreds of alien ships approaching through space. They were big, dark vessels with heavy armor plating. Each ship looked like it was built for war. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jack ordered. "Tell them we have visitors." The communications officer, a young man named Tom Peters, began typing rapidly. "Message sent, sir. Earth Command acknowledges." Amy continued scanning the alien fleet. "Commander, I'm reading their ship specifications. Their hull density is 3 times thicker than ours. These ships are built to survive extreme conditions." Jack frowned. He had been in space for 20 years. He had seen many alien species, but these ships worried him. They moved with purpose, like predators hunting prey. "Open a channel," he said. "Let's see who we're dealing with." The screen flickered. An alien face appeared. The creature was massive, with gray skin and 4 muscular arms. Its eyes were black and cold. When it spoke, the translator converted its growls into English. "Humans of this system, I am More Commander Grax of the Korthax Empire. You have one choice. Surrender your worlds, or be destroyed." Jack stood straight. "This is Commander Jack Davis of Earth Fleet. These are human colonies. We will defend them." The alien made a sound like laughter. "We are Korthax. We come from a death world where only the strong survive. Your species is weak. You will fall." The screen went dark. The alien had ended the transmission. Jack turned to his crew. "Battle stations. All hands to combat positions." Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Crew members ran to their posts. Weapons systems powered up. Shields activated with a blue glow around the hull. Amy studied her readings more carefully. "Sir, their ships are designed for high gravity. Their homeworld must have crushing atmospheric pressure. No wonder they think we're weak." "They haven't met humans in battle," Jack said. "Tom, send an encrypted message to Admiral Lisa Johnson. Tell her the Korthax have arrived. We need the entire fleet." Tom's fingers flew over his console. "Message sent on secure channel, sir." Outside the viewport, the alien fleet grew larger. The Korthax ships spread out in attack formation. They were preparing for battle. Jack Davis had fought in 3 wars. He had seen friends die and colonies burn. But humans always found a way to survive. They adapted. They learned. They never gave up. "Amy, what's our tactical situation?" he asked. "We have 12 ships in this system. The orbital defense platforms are online. But sir, they outnumber us 5 to 1. Jack nodded. The odds were bad, but humans had faced worse odds before. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. They had conquered their own planet's challenges before reaching for the stars. "Send word to all colonies in this sector," Jack ordered. "Tell them to prepare for evacuation if needed. But also tell them this: Earth Fleet will stand and fight." The crew worked with quiet efficiency. They trusted their commander. They trusted their training. Most of all, they trusted in humanity's greatest strength, the ability to face impossible odds and find a way to win. As the Korthax fleet approached, Jack Davis smiled grimly. The aliens thought humans were weak because they came from an easier world. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The massive form of the Korthax commander filled the screen again. This time, the view showed more of the alien's bridge. Other Korthax moved in the background, each one as large and intimidating as their leader. Admiral Lisa Johnson stood on the bridge of the U.S. Vengeance. She had commanded fleets for 15 years. Her crew watched her with respect and trust. She studied the alien on the screen with calm eyes. "I am Admiral Johnson of Earth Fleet," she said. "You have entered human space without permission. State your intentions." The Korthax commander's 4 arms moved as it spoke. "We have already stated our purpose. Your colonies will join the Korthax Empire. Resistance is pointless." "Why should we surrender?" Lisa asked. "We have done nothing to provoke your species." The alien's black eyes narrowed. "We need no provocation. We are apex predators from Korthax Prime. Our world has gravity 3 times stronger than your Earth, temperatures that would kill your kind instantly. We survived where millions of species died. That gives us the right to take what we want." Captain Steve Miller stood next to the Admiral. He whispered, "Their whole culture is based on strength. They see kindness as weakness." Lisa nodded slightly but kept her eyes on the screen. "You survived a harsh world. We respect that. But humans have our own story of survival." The Korthax commander made that laughing sound again. "Your world is a paradise. Gentle gravity, mild temperatures, abundant water. You are soft creatures born in comfort." "You know nothing about Earth or humanity," Lisa said firmly. "We survived ice ages that lasted thousands of years. We lived through plagues that killed millions. We fought wars that nearly destroyed our planet. But we learned. We adapted. We grew stronger." "Words," the alien dismissed. "You have 1 solar rotation. 24 of your hours. Surrender or face extinction. We have destroyed 2 civilizations already. Yours will be the 3rd. The transmission ended abruptly. The screen showed the Korthax fleet again. Their ships held position, waiting. Lisa turned to her bridge crew. "Status report. All departments." Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Bob Harris, spoke first. "All weapon systems operational. But Admiral, their armor is incredibly thick. Our standard weapons might not penetrate. Their ships are built for ramming attacks," added Commander Helen Ford from Tactical. "In their high gravity, direct collision is a valid combat tactic." Steve Miller studied the fleet distribution on his personal display. "Admiral, I recommend we fall back to the inner colonies. We could set up a defensive line there." Lisa shook her head. "No, we make our stand here. If we retreat, they'll see it as weakness. They'll attack harder." "But Admiral," Steve pressed, "we're outnumbered 5 to 1. Maybe more." "Numbers aren't everything, Captain." Lisa moved to the central command station. "Send a message to all Earth fleet vessels. All ships are to converge on our position. Maximum speed." "Yes, Admiral," the communications officer confirmed. Lisa then turned to her senior staff. "I want all department heads in the conference room in 10 minutes. We need to plan our response." As the officers filed out, Lisa remained on the bridge. She looked at the Korthax fleet on the main screen. The aliens were confident. They had crushed 2 civilizations already. They expected humans to crumble like the others. But they didn't understand humanity. They saw Earth's moderate climate as weakness. They didn't know about human determination, about human creativity, about the human ability to turn disadvantage into strength. Helen Ford returned to the bridge with a datapad. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their attack on the previous civilizations. They use brute force. No subtlety. No adaptation. They've never needed to adapt," Lisa said. "They've always been the strongest. But strength without flexibility is a weakness." "What are you thinking, Admiral?" Lisa smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "I'm thinking it's time to show the Korthax what humans do best. We don't just survive. We find ways to win. Alert all fleets. Operation Persistence begins now. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They had heard that name before. Operation Persistence was a defensive strategy that turned into an offensive one. It was classic human tactics. Bend but don't break. Then strike back harder. The countdown had begun. 24 hours to prepare for the fight of their lives. Chief Engineer Bob Taylor worked deep inside the U.S. Vengeance. The weapons lab was filled with screens, tools, and prototype equipment. He hadn't slept in 18 hours, but he didn't feel tired. The threat of the Korthax kept him focused. Dr. Karen White entered the lab carrying a datapad. She was the fleet's leading physicist. Her mind worked in ways that amazed even veteran engineers. "Bob, I've been studying the Korthax ship scans," she said. "Look at this." She showed him the readings on her pad. The alien armor showed unusual properties under different types of energy exposure. "Their armor is designed for kinetic impacts," Karen explained. "Bullets, missiles, ramming attacks. It's perfect for their high-gravity world. But watch what happens when I apply different energy frequencies." She ran a simulation on the main screen. The virtual Korthax armor held strong against conventional weapons, but when she adjusted the energy beam frequency, the armor began to show weakness. Bob's eyes widened. They've never encountered directed energy weapons at these frequencies. Exactly. Their world probably doesn't have the same electromagnetic conditions as ours. They built defenses against what they know, not against what they've never seen. Bob immediately began working on his console. "We can modify our beam weapons, adjust the frequency modulation. It will take time, but we can do it." "How long?" Karen asked. 6 hours for the main guns, maybe 8 for the entire fleet." "We have less than 20 hours left," Karen reminded him. "Then we'd better work fast." Across the ship, Commander Maria Garcia prepared her stealth squadron. She led the fleet's reconnaissance units. Her pilots were the best in Earth fleet. "Listen up," she told her team. "We need intelligence on the Korthax fleet. Ship positions, weak points, command structure. Standard stealth approach won't work against their sensors." Lieutenant Dan Foster raised his hand. "What about the asteroid field in Sector 7? We could use it for cover." Maria smiled. "Good thinking. We'll use the asteroids to mask our approach. Small teams, quick passes. Get the data and get out." Her pilots nodded. They trusted Maria's judgment. She had led them through dozens of missions without losing a single pilot. In another part of the ship, Captain Paul Brown studied Korthax battle footage. The aliens had sent video of their previous conquests. It was meant to intimidate. Instead, Paul saw patterns. "They always attack head-on," he told his tactical team. "No flanking maneuvers, no feints, just straight ahead with maximum force." Lieutenant Sarah Kim pointed at the screen. "Look how they respond to the enemy fleet's movements. There's a delay. Maybe their high-gravity evolution makes them slower to change direction." "Excellent observation," Paul said. "In high gravity, momentum is harder to change. They can't turn as quickly as us." This gave Paul an idea. He began sketching attack patterns on his tablet. If human ships could stay mobile, they could hit the Korthax from angles they couldn't quickly counter. Meanwhile, Admiral Johnson met with her senior staff. The conference room's main screen showed the positions of all human ships converging on their location. "How many ships do we have?" she asked. 68 vessels will arrive within 12 hours, reported Commander Alex Chen. "Another 32 are en route but might not make it in time." "And the colonies?" "Evacuation procedures are in place, but most colonists are refusing to leave. They want to fight." Lisa nodded. That was human nature. When threatened, they didn't always run. Sometimes they stood their ground. "What about the weapon modifications?" she asked Bob Taylor, who had joined by video link from the lab. "We'll have prototype weapons ready for testing in 4 hours. Full fleet modification will take longer, but we'll prioritize the ships most likely to see early combat." "Good work. What about intelligence?" Maria Garcia responded from her ready room. My squadrons launch in 30 minutes. We'll have detailed scans of their fleet within 6 hours. Lisa looked around at her officers. Each face showed determination. No fear, no doubt, just the quiet confidence of professionals preparing for battle. The Korthax think we're weak, she said. They're about to learn that humans have different kinds of strength. Dismissed. As her staff left to continue preparations, Lisa remained in the conference room. Through the viewport, she could see the distant lights of the Korthax fleet. They waited like predators certain of their prey. They had no idea what was coming. Dawn broke over New Terra. The colony's sun painted the sky in shades of orange and red. Above the atmosphere, the first battle for humanity's survival began. The Korthax fleet moved forward in a massive wall formation. Their ships advanced slowly but steadily, confident in their superior numbers and armor. They expected the humans to meet them head-on, to crumble under direct assault. Commander Paul Brown watched from his position on the flank. His squadron of 12 ships held back, hidden behind a large asteroid. All wings, hold position. Wait for my signal. The main human fleet, led by the U.S. Vengeance, appeared to retreat slowly. The Korthax commander saw this as weakness. His ships increased speed, eager to crush the fleeing humans. They're taking the bait, Admiral Johnson said calmly. All ships, execute pattern Delta on my mark. Suddenly, the human ships scattered in all directions. They moved in seemingly random patterns, but each ship knew exactly where to go. The Korthax formation tried to adjust, but their heavy ships turned slowly. Now, Paul Brown commanded. His squadron burst from behind the asteroid. The modified energy weapons fired in perfect synchronization. The beams hit the Korthax ships from the side, where their armor was thinner. The result was immediate. Korthax armor, designed for physical impacts, began to fail under the new weapon frequencies. Hull breaches appeared on 3 enemy vessels. It's working, shouted Lieutenant Amy Brooks from her station on the U.S. Defiant. Their armor can't adapt to our modified weapons. Captain Lisa Adams led another squadron from the opposite flank. All ships target their engine sections. They can't turn fast enough to protect them. The battle turned into a dance. Human ships darted in and out, striking at weak points before the Korthax could respond. The aliens' powerful forward weapons rarely found targets. Their ships, built for head-on collisions in high gravity, couldn't match human maneuverability in open space. Inside a Korthax battleship, confusion reigned. Warlord Thax watched his tactical display with growing anger. Why won't they fight properly? Stand and face us. His second-in-command struggled with the controls. Warlord, they attack from all sides. Our formation is breaking down. Impossible. We are Korthax. We have conquered star systems. But the evidence was clear. Human ships used hit-and-run tactics. They worked in coordinated groups, each squadron supporting the others. When Korthax ships tried to pursue one group, another would attack from behind. On the U.S. Vengeance, Admiral Johnson coordinated the battle. Squadron 4, pull back. You're getting too close. Squadron 7, cover their retreat. Dr. Karen White monitored the weapon effectiveness. Admiral, the Korthax are trying to adapt their shields, but they're too slow. Our frequency modulation is working perfectly. The first Korthax ship exploded. Its reactor couldn't handle the cascading system failures. The explosion damaged 2 nearby vessels. They're too close together, observed Captain Steve Miller. Their tight formation is a liability now. More human reinforcements arrived. Fresh squadrons joined the battle, replacing tired pilots. The Korthax had no reserves. They had brought their entire attack force, confident in quick victory. Lieutenant Dan Foster led a reconnaissance flight through the battle. I'm detecting panic in their communications. They're calling this impossible. They say we fight like ghosts. Hour by hour, the Korthax fleet crumbled. Their mighty dreadnoughts, built to dominate through fear and force, became floating targets. Human pilots learned their weak points and shared the information instantly across the fleet. Korthak's ship breaking formation. Amy Brooks reported, "It's trying to retreat." "Let it go," Admiral Johnson ordered. "Focus on the ones still fighting." By mid-afternoon, the battle had turned into a rout. The Korthak's commander's flagship stood alone, surrounded by debris from his fleet. His four arms moved frantically over his command console. "This cannot be," he growled. "We are the strongest. We survived our death world. How can these soft creatures defeat us?" His answer came from Admiral Johnson's next transmission. "Strength isn't just about muscle or armor. It's about adaptation. It's about thinking. It's about never giving up. That's what makes humans dangerous." The stars above New Terra witnessed something unprecedented. The mighty Korthak's fleet, terror of the galaxy, had met its match in the supposedly weak humans. Lieutenant Commander John Smith stood in the communications center of the U.S. Vengeance. Banks of equipment surrounded him, all focused on one mission. He turned to Admiral Johnson, who had come to oversee this phase personally. "We're ready to broadcast, Admiral. The signal will reach every Korthak ship and their homeworld." Lisa nodded. "Begin transmission." The screens came alive with images from Earth's history. First came the Ice Age. Massive glaciers covered the land. Early humans huddled in caves, fighting for survival against the cold. They made tools from stones. They tamed fire. They refused to die. Next came footage of humans in the Sahara Desert. Temperatures that would kill most species. No water for miles. Yet humans lived there, adapted there, thrived there. They built entire civilizations in places other species called uninhabitable. The images shifted to the ocean depths. Humans in submarines exploring places where pressure would crush most life forms. They went deeper than any surface creature should go. They built cities underwater. They made the impossible possible. "Now show them the wars," Admiral Johnson said quietly. World War footage filled the screens. Cities in ruins. Millions dead. Yet humans rebuilt. They came back stronger. The images showed Hiroshima after the atomic bomb, then the same city decades later, thriving and full of life. Dr. Sandra Lee watched from her psychology station. She had studied the Korthak's mind during the battle. They're responding to the broadcast. Their communications show confusion. They can't understand how we survived such destruction. The final images showed humans in space, not just surviving but thriving. Space stations orbiting Earth, colonies on Mars, ships traveling between the stars. The message was clear. Humans didn't just endure hardship. They conquered it. Admiral Johnson's voice echoed across subspace. "You call yourselves Deathworlders. You survived one harsh planet. Humans survived everything our world threw at us. Ice ages, droughts, floods, diseases, wars. Each challenge made us stronger, made us smarter, made us more determined." On the Korthak's flagship, War Commander Grax watched the broadcast with his 4 black eyes. His second-in-command spoke hesitantly. "Commander, these images, they show a species that thrives on adversity." "Impossible," Grax growled, but doubt crept into his voice. The human broadcast continued. Now it showed the battle footage from the past hours. Korthak's ships exploding. Human vessels dancing around their attacks. The mighty Korthak's fleet reduced to debris. "You evolved on a death world." Admiral Johnson's voice continued. "It made you strong. But it also made you rigid. You never had to adapt because you were always the strongest. Humans evolved on a world of constant change. We learned to think, to adapt, to overcome. That's our true strength." Dr. Lee reported to the Admiral. "Their fleet communication is fracturing. Some ships want to continue fighting. Others are calling for retreat. The psychological impact is working." Lieutenant Commander John Smith added more footage. This time, it showed human compassion. Doctors treating wounded enemies. Humans sharing food with former foes. Species that once fought humans now standing as allies. "We offer you a choice," Admiral Johnson said. "Continue this fight and face extinction, or learn what we learned long ago. True strength isn't about domination. It's about adaptation. It's about growth. It's about choosing when to fight and when to make peace." The Korthax fleet hung motionless in space. Their mighty warships, so confident hours ago, now seemed uncertain. Several smaller vessels began to pull back from formation. "They respect strength," Dr. Lee explained to the bridge crew, "but they fear the unknown. We've shown them something they've never encountered. A species that gets stronger from adversity." War Commander Grax finally responded. His image appeared on the human screens. For the first time, the massive alien seemed smaller, less imposing. "You humans, you are not what we expected. Our death world taught us that only the strong survive. But you show strength we do not understand." "Then learn," Admiral Johnson replied simply. "That's what humans do best. We learn. We grow. We adapt. The question is, will you?" The psychological warfare had achieved what weapons alone could not. The Korthax faced not just military defeat but a complete upheaval of their worldview. The hunters had discovered they were not the apex predators they believed themselves to be. The Korthax fleet began to break apart. Some ships powered down their weapons, drifting motionless in space. Others turned slowly, attempting to retreat toward the edge of the system. The once mighty formation dissolved into chaos. Captain Kevin Jones commanded the pursuit squadron. His 6 ships shadowed the retreating Korthax vessels. "Admiral, 3 enemy ships are attempting to jump to hyperspace. Should we intercept?" "Negative," Admiral Johnson replied. "But don't let them think we're weak. Stay close. Make them understand we're allowing their retreat." Jones smiled grimly. "Understood. We'll be their escorts to the system edge." On another front, Engineer Alice Murphy worked frantically at her console aboard the U.S. Thunder. She had been monitoring Korthax communications throughout the battle. "Admiral, I've done it. We've cracked their command codes completely." The breakthrough came at perfect timing. Alien voices filled the communication channels, translated instantly by the ship's computers. The Korthax were not just retreating. They were arguing among themselves. "This is madness." One Korthax captain roared, "We cannot flee from these soft creatures. They destroyed half our fleet." Another responded, "Their tactics are unlike anything in our databases. Warlord Thax is dead. His ship burns in space. Who leads us now?" War Commander Grax's voice cut through the chaos. "I lead, and I say we have lost this day. The humans fight with minds, not just weapons. We must regroup. We must learn." The word "learn" seemed to stick in his throat. For the Korthax, admitting they needed to learn from another species was almost unthinkable. Their entire culture was built on being the strongest, the most dominant. Admiral Johnson opened a direct channel to Grax. "Commander, your ships are free to leave. But know this, if you return with hostile intent, we'll be ready. We've shown mercy today. Don't mistake it for weakness." "You speak of mercy," Grax replied slowly. "On Korthax Prime, mercy is death. The weak die so the strong survive. But you choose to let enemies live. Why?" "Because strength without wisdom is just brutality," Lisa answered. "Humans learned that lesson long ago. We nearly destroyed ourselves with wars. Now we know that true strength includes knowing when not to fight." More Korthax ships powered down their weapons. The retreat became orderly instead of panicked. Human vessels maintained distance but stayed alert. Trust would take time to build. Captain Nancy Clark coordinated the surrender procedures. Several Korthax ships had suffered severe damage. Their crews needed help. Medical teams to shuttles. "We have wounded enemies requesting assistance." Some human crew members protested. The Korthax had come to destroy their colonies. Why help them now? Dr. George Martin addressed his medical staff. "Because that's what separates us from them. They see only predator and prey. We see potential allies, maybe even friends. Today's enemy might be tomorrow's partner. The medical shuttles launched toward the damaged Korthax vessels. Human doctors worked alongside Korthax medics, sharing knowledge about their different physiologies. The four-armed aliens watched in amazement as humans treated their wounded with the same care as their own. "Your medicine is advanced," a Korthax medic admitted to Dr. Martin. "Our own healing focuses on culling the weak. You try to save everyone." "Every life has value," Martin replied simply. "That's another human strength. We don't abandon our wounded." By evening, the immediate crisis had passed. The surviving Korthax ships gathered at the system's edge. Some would return to their homeworld with news of defeat. Others requested permission to remain, to learn more about human culture. Admiral Johnson surveyed the aftermath from her bridge. The battle was won, but the real work was just beginning. Converting enemies to allies would take patience, wisdom, and strength of a different kind. "Send a message to Earth Command," she ordered. "The Korthax invasion has been repelled. Preliminary peace negotiations beginning. Request diplomatic team for first contact protocols." She looked at the stars beyond the viewport. Humanity had passed its first major test against a Deathworld species, but Lisa knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had learned that humans were not prey. Now they would learn that humans could be something much more powerful: teachers, healers, and friends to those wise enough to accept them. The main Korthax fleet held position at the edge of the system. Their weapons remained powered but not aimed. It was a tense standoff. Neither side fully trusted the other yet. War Commander Grax requested permission to board the U.S. Vengeance for negotiations. Admiral Johnson agreed, but with conditions. Only Grax and 2 guards. No weapons. Human security would be heavy but respectful. "Sir," urged Commander Bill Thompson, head of security, "this could be a trap. We should meet on a neutral station instead." Lisa shook her head. "We need to show strength through trust. If we act afraid, they'll see weakness. Prepare the conference room. Full honor guard, but weapons lowered." The Korthax shuttle approached slowly. Human fighters escorted it but kept their distance. When Grax emerged in the hangar bay, the size difference was striking. The alien stood 9 feet tall, his 4 arms moving independently. His gray skin looked like armor plating, but something had changed in his black eyes. The arrogance was gone. In its place was something new: curiosity, perhaps even respect. "Admiral Johnson," Grax said, his translator making his growls into words, "I come to speak of defeat and of learning." They moved to the conference room. Grax had to duck through doorways built for humans. His guards looked uncomfortable in the lower gravity. They were used to crushing weight, not this strange likeness. "Your people fought well," Lisa began once they were seated. "But this doesn't have to end in hatred. Humans have a saying: today's enemy can be tomorrow's friend." Grax's 4 arms gestured confusion. "On Korthax Prime, enemies are consumed. The strong eat the weak. This has always been our way." "But you're not on Korthax Prime anymore," Lisa pointed out. "In space, different rules apply. Cooperation often works better than domination." She showed him a star map. Dozens of species were marked as human allies. "Each of these species fought us once. Now we trade, share knowledge, defend each other. The galaxy is too big for any one species to conquer." "You showed us your history," Grax said slowly. "Your world tried to kill you many times. Yet you survived. You even left your world and thrived among the stars." "How?" "We adapted," Lisa answered. "Every challenge taught us something new. When ice covered Earth, we learned to make better shelters. When disease struck, we developed medicine. When we nearly destroyed ourselves with war, we learned diplomacy." Grax leaned forward. His massive frame made the human furniture creak. "And when you met species stronger than you, we learned from them too. Took their strengths, added them to our own. That's humanity's real power: We never stop learning. Captain Nancy Clark entered with a data pad. Admiral, the wounded Korthax are recovering well. Several have asked to speak with our doctors about human medical techniques. Grax's eyes widened. Your healers saved enemies who tried to kill them. Of course, Nancy said simply. Doctors take an oath to help anyone who needs it. Enemy or friend doesn't matter in a medical bay. This seemed to break something in Grax's worldview. On Korthax Prime, showing mercy to enemies was unthinkable. Yet these humans did it naturally, without question. I must ask, Grax said finally, if we leave peacefully, what prevents us from returning with a larger fleet? Admiral Johnson smiled. Nothing. But why would you? You've seen what a small human fleet can do. We have allies across the galaxy. More importantly, we can offer something better than conquest. What could be better than domination? Grax asked, but the question sounded uncertain now. Partnership, trade, shared knowledge. Your people are incredibly strong. Our people are adaptable and creative. Imagine what we could accomplish together. She pulled up economic projections. Korthak's strength could help in mining operations on high-gravity worlds. Human technology could improve Korthak's medicine and education. Both species would benefit. Grax studied the data with all four eyes. The numbers were compelling. Cooperation would bring more resources than conquest. It went against everything his culture taught, but the logic was undeniable. I must consult with my remaining commanders, he said finally. This decision will change Korthak society forever. Take your time, Lisa offered. But remember, humans chose mercy today. We could have destroyed your entire fleet. Instead, we offer friendship. That's not weakness. That's strength of a different kind. As Grax left the conference room, his massive frame seemed less imposing. The Predator was learning to see beyond the hunt. 6 months had passed since the battle over New Terra. The space above the colony looked very different now. Human and Korthak ships flew together in formation, practicing joint maneuvers. What had started as bitter enemies had transformed into unlikely allies. War Commander Grax stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the new joint facility built between human and Korthak space. Admiral Lisa Johnson stood beside him, watching their combined fleet exercise. Your pilots are adapting well to our tactics, Lisa observed. A Korthak's heavy cruiser executed a turning maneuver that would have been impossible months ago. We learned to be less rigid, Grax admitted. His 4 arms gestured at the mixed crews visible through the station's windows. Though it still surprises me to see our species working together. The transformation hadn't been easy. Many on both sides resisted the alliance. Some humans couldn't forgive the initial attack. Some Korthaks saw cooperation as weakness. But results spoke louder than prejudice. Contact on long-range sensors reported Captain Amy Brooks from the station's command center. Unknown vessels approaching from the outer reach. Both leaders moved to the command center. The main screen showed a new threat. Ships unlike anything in their databases. They were crystalline in structure, pulsing with strange energy. The Void Hunters, Grax said grimly. We heard rumors of them in distant systems. They consume entire civilizations, strip planets bare. Even the Korthaks feared to face them alone. Lisa studied the approaching fleet. How many ships? 300 and counting, Amy reported. They're heading directly for the inner colonies. Alert all vessels, Lisa commanded. Human and Korthak squadrons form up together. This is what we trained for. The Allied fleet responded quickly. Human agility paired with Korthak strength created formations neither species could achieve alone. The months of joint training paid off as ships moved in perfect coordination. Dr. George Martin had spent the time studying both species biology. His research led to medical breakthroughs that benefited both races. Now he watched from the station as history unfolded. The Void Hunters are in for a surprise, he told his mixed medical staff. They're about to face something new, true cooperation between species. The enemy fleet approached with arrogant confidence. They had never lost a battle. never met effective resistance. Their crystalline ships spread out, preparing to envelope the Allied fleet. All ships, execute Combined Strategy Alpha, Admiral Johnson ordered. Human vessels darted forward, their upgraded energy weapons slicing into the crystal ships. When the Void Hunters turned to pursue, they met the immovable wall of Korthak's dreadnoughts. The heavy ships absorbed tremendous damage, while human squadrons struck from the flanks. "It's working," shouted Commander Paul Brown from his fighter. "They can't adapt to both fighting styles at once." Grax commanded the Korthak's contingent with newfound flexibility. "Second wave, support the human strike teams. Use their mobility to protect your advance." For hours the battle raged. The Void Hunters found themselves outmaneuvered and outthought. Their rigid consumption tactics met the combined innovation of two united species. When the enemy finally retreated, leaving dozens of destroyed ships behind, cheers erupted across the Allied fleet. Humans and Korthaks celebrated together, their past conflict forgotten in shared victory. "We did it," Grax said quietly to Admiral Johnson. "Together, we achieved what neither could alone." Lisa smiled. "This is just the beginning. Word will spread that the humans and Korthaks are allies. Others will want to join us. The galaxy is changing." Over the following weeks, more species reached out. The peaceful traders, the scientific explorers, even other warrior races, all saw the power of cooperation over conquest. The alliance grew from 2 species to 5, then 10, then dozens. Earth had become the center of a new galactic community, not through conquest or domination, but through something far more powerful: the simple idea that different strengths combined could overcome any challenge. Admiral Johnson often returned to that observation deck. She watched mixed crews working together, saw former enemies becoming friends, observed the impossible becoming routine. "We didn't conquer them with weapons," she would tell new members of the Alliance. "We conquered them by showing what humanity truly means: the courage to trust, the wisdom to forgive, and the strength to transform enemies into family." The stars no longer held threats for humanity. They held friends, partners, and infinite possibilities. The age of conquest had ended. The age of cooperation had begun.